Okay, I guess I should say, although maybe I don't need to, that this segment is not a politically correct segment. If you've been watching this program for a while, you know that political correctness has never been really a priority of mine. And those that are in the so-called realist movement are going to know what I mean. Sometimes you've got to call things what they are. And sometimes you have to realize that what you believe to be an accurate representation of the world simply isn't. And what I'm talking about is that there are all sorts of really smart pieces all over the place about what's happening to our country, what's happening in the United States right now under Trump's America. You have American writers and foreign writers who are trying to sort of figure out what exactly has led to this Trumpian America status quo in which we find ourselves during the year 2019. How can people be so gullible? Some writers have ascribed this to fear of losing status, real or perceived, influenced people into voting for Donald Trump in 2016. And yeah, that is part of it. Others have ascribed to racism and xenophobia the motivation to vote for someone like Donald Trump. And of course, that's a part of it for sure. I can't deny that. We've seen people like Dilbert creator Scott Adams say that it's Donald Trump's skills at persuasion and influence. Even if he doesn't get every policy, Trump's persuasion skills influenced a lot of people to vote for him. And yeah, okay, that's part of it. You have the Hillary was a bad candidate angle. And yeah, okay, that was part of it. But that doesn't explain why Trump today maintains an approval rating in the high 30s or low 40s, depending on where and when you look. We've heard the meme of tribalism and partisanship cited as why we have so many people who support Trump despite being an obvious liar in terms of what he will do and not really even understanding the policies that he espoused. That's also part of it. But we are not going to get beyond the situation in which we find ourselves today until we admit that there are just lots of dumb people and some of them vote and they don't understand anything and they're not going to understand anything. So that a solution to the current problem is going to require, it's going to have to be a solution that doesn't include them. All right. Part of it's cultural. That's just a reality. Part of it is a class issue. Part of it is because education and thinking itself have been stigmatized and smeared as liberal nonsense. I'll give you some examples. Trump's trade bloviating. If you believe a con man who knows nothing about trade, that he's going to fix the problem and eliminate the trade deficit, and then you see the numbers that the trade deficit is up despite all of his negotiations and the tariffs and everything else, at a certain point, a person who is informed and capable of critical thinking says, you know what? He lied and he's a con man and I can't support him anymore. The tax cuts for middle America. We were told everybody's getting a tax cut. And now you have, as I told you last week, Republicans furious on Twitter about what they see as tax increases. Some of them are actually tax increases because they were duped. Others don't understand that your refund doesn't actually tell you what your total tax liability was. It's because they're just not knowledgeable and we're not going to be able to inform them. We're going to have to find a solution that doesn't include these people. Trump building a wall with Mexico that Mexico will pay for. That was never going to happen, right? There was never going to be a wall built across the U.S.-Mexico border that Mexico was going to pay for. And it's also clear, according to engineers, as we looked at in detail 2 weeks ago, that there's not going to be a wall built, period, across the entire U.S.-Mexico border during Donald Trump's presidency, whether it goes on 2 more years or 6 more years. The best case scenario for a wall builder is that Trump will get a few billion for some tiny portion of it, period. It would take a decade or more, even if we started now, to do what Trump wants to do. And we don't even have the money for it at this point. So it's not happening. But you have Trumpists who continue believing it, either because of cognitive dissonance or, as I'm increasingly convinced, simply ignorance. Believing in the idea of tax cuts for the rich as good for the country. We saw that the tax cuts for the rich under Reagan, the tax cuts for the rich under Trump didn't work and raised the deficit. And the exact same thing is happening under Donald Trump. At a certain point, you have to say it's not just tribalism, it's also ignorance. When you have a system that makes it easier to get a gun than to drive a car, this is simply inconceivable in most developed countries. The world is aghast at this, but there's a bunch of people who are just not smart enough to realize how crazy it is. And then on top of this, you have to drop the vicious cycle of right-wing media like Fox News. People watch Fox News because they believe that no one other than Fox News is telling them the truth. And then we know that the more you watch Fox News, the less informed you are, even compared to watching no news at all. And it reinforces the idea that nobody tells you the truth other than Fox News. It's a circle of idiocy. Now, let me preempt what I know some of you are going to say about this story. I will get emails and tweets from people saying, David, this is why Trump won. Your liberal arrogance about Trumpists being dumb is why Trump won and will win again. No, sorry. Smart people aren't voting for Trump because liberals say that they're dumb on Twitter, right? That's not the issue. This is why arguing with Trumpists to try to win elections is a loser's game, and why I am insisting, it's happening every other show at this point, that I'm reminding you. If we want to win in 2020, it's going to happen despite Trumpists, not because of them, because we've convinced them to change their minds. It's just not going to happen, period. And that's why get out the vote is the most important tactic to take power back from this administration in 2020. Tell me where I'm going wrong. I would love to hear from you.